Hello everybody and welcome along to PSGL Season 32, the championship finale where we will crown a PSGL PSF1 champion, and we're very excited to go to the Circuit of the Americas for the United States Grand Prix. My name is Jess Ball, and joining me for the final time this season, we've got Aidan Carter. Aidan, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Jess. Yeah, really looking forward to it today. It's going to be a really interesting title fight. We've still got 3 people mathematically in contention coming into the title today, so something different to what we saw last season, which is really, really exciting. And yeah, with how it's gone for the past few rounds, anything can happen, and I'm really excited about it. So yeah, looking forward to this one.
Yeah, we saw that last week with Rudy being third in the championship. He had nothing to lose, not much pressure was under his shoulders, but he went on to take the win with his main championship contenders suffering and falling by the wayside, unfortunately. So that is why at the moment, Rudy is your championship leader by 8 points. And if he gets a podium, no matter what the other 2 championship contenders do of Legend and Rowan, Rudy will be your champion. But Legend still mathematically could win it if Rudy has a bad race. Rowan needs a miracle. Rowan basically needs to win the race and for everybody else pretty much not score. But we've seen from last week anything can happen with Legend falling out of possible winning the championship last week as well. The battle for 4th is pretty much sealed, but there's still a possibility that the likes of Kazizzle could beat Asacombe, but Asacombe is looking like the favourites there. Tom is not going to get 4th place because he received quite a hefty few licence points to his name and also 10-second time penalty to be added to his race time from tonight for causing pretty much spinning and causing a crash to cause a safety car. It wasn't sure that if it was on purpose or not, but look, judging by the throttle and the brake input, it was a bit dodgy, so that was why obviously Tom got that penalty. And looking at tonight's permutations and standings as well, we've been told the drivers have been told by Connor, unless you share a manufacturer constructor with that person, you're not allowed to help someone from the esports team. The only exception obviously is Frankie, because Frankie's obviously in the same constructor as Rudy. But if you're not in the same constructor as a championship contender, for example, you can't help that person. But if you are, you can help them to your heart's content. But if we see like what we saw last week with a Shizu person from a different team helping another Shizu member, then it's going to be frowned upon and hefty penalties will be rewarded. So yeah, it puts an interesting perspective going into tonight's race. There is prediction there could be some chaos, but let's hope not. We want it to be a fantastic finale with no issues.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll wait and see. But yeah, with how it's gone this season, I wouldn't put anything past these F1 drivers. It's been a bit of a crazy season from these lots. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And Circuit of the Americas, this was a great place to host the finale for this championship, of course, as well. It's a great racetrack for overtaking. Obviously, there's the difficulty with track limits. It's quite hard on tyres. You do often see a lot of drivers making mistakes, especially in the low speed stuff when your tyres are quite hot. So yeah, it's a really difficult track for the final round of the calendar, but a great one for racing as well. So it's going to make a really interesting finale. And of course, this is the track where Legend got probably the most dominant win in PSF1 history last season in the wet. So Legend already comes into this with knowing the fact that this track is a track that suits him really well, and it's a track that he's very, very good at. So he's probably hoping for rain for the best chance, I would say, for him to win the title. I think Rudy will probably be one of the championship rivals to play it safe. We know he knows he's got the pace to get a podium. That's all he needs to do to win the championship. So I think if Rudy's in the position to finish 3rd and there's still the fight for the win, I think he will just take the 3rd place in the title. So we'll see. I think it's up to Legend and Rowan to pull it out the bag if they can.
Yes, and Rudy has technically an advantage because he had a bit of practice last week in the PCF2 finale. We all know how the PCF2 finale went. It was absolutely incredible finale. We saw obviously Baena, who was an outsider going into the championship, win the race, but it was Will Lewis who won the championship in PCF2, so big congratulations to him. We'll see a lot more of him in PCF1 this season. Of course, Will Lewis came from the PS side, and so did the likes of Ismail Fassi, who unfortunately missed out on the championship, but again, we'll see more of him in PCF1. But we got 18 drivers, no Ray this week and no Elliot. Elliot is on a cruise, unfortunately. unfortunately, and Ray is not home. And I believe we got no reserves available tonight. So we just got 18 forward-time drivers. Interestingly, Tom is on the hard compounder tyres. I didn't think he would do that, but fair enough. You want to save a bit of sauce. Now, Circuit of the Americas then first host a Formula 1 race back in 2012, and there was quite a few corners in mind that were similar to obviously the likes of Silverstone, Turkey, Suzuka, and Herman Tilke definitely had that in mind as we ride on board with Markados as he begins his lap around the Circuit of the Americas. Completely dry at the moment here in Texas, but you never know, as we've seen in the other tiers in the last week or so, anything can happen. And this is the Maggots and Beckett's type section, as I was alluding to, and also people will remember this as the Asses section as well, as it was designed as well, as these passes 6 and 7 as well. It's very hard to get right, as I found out when I've raced a few races around the Circuit of the Americas as well. We've seen quite a few overtakes going into this section here of turn 11. I think that's it is turn 11 going through this back DRS straight. Markados getting a bit squirmy there on the throttle, so he is struggling a little bit on those soft tyres, so it may be down to the tyre pressure that he's got at the moment. Now, Tom has retired from the session. I wonder if he's got a qualifying ban due to the amount of license points he's got, but I'll double check that in just a moment. Markados then goes through turns 13 and 14. You treat it as technically one turn, and then heading towards turn 15 and 16, where we see a lot of side-by-side action in PSF2 earlier on as well. They've also got a championship finale to decide, and we will find out very soon who has won that one. But we're heading towards the Istanbul type part of the circuit as well. It's nice that the circuit designer had this in mind, and that's why it's one of my favourite circuits on this game. Markados up to the line then, and what's it going to be? It's going to be a 1:32.5 to set the benchmark time on the board, and his teammate goes about a tenth faster with a 1:32.4. We got one of the Ferraris, it's Legend, that can only manage second, Rowan in third. What about our other championship contender? That is not good from Rudy, our championship leader, who's got the less pressure coming into this. He has invalidated his run, so he's unable to set a lap time. We've got Marlon comes across the line in sixth. Now it's Cazidal in sixth. Frankie, Rudy's teammate, is in P2. Now that is good for Rudy, because Frankie can have a lot to say as it comes to the championship, because he can really help Rudy in tonight's race. And also, McLaren, I believe, are leading the constructors going into tonight's race, about 1 point over Ferrari, because for the first time this season, Ferrari didn't score last week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's also the manufacturers to think about as well from Frankie's standpoint, as well as helping his teammate for the title. And yeah, Frankie kind of coming on song a little bit at the end of the season. It will definitely be a help to him to be able to be up at the front, just seeing other drivers cross the line. And Maya's just gone P4 in the Red Bull. Not a bad lap from there. All the times at the moment are very, very close together. A couple of people have made invalidations on their run, like we saw Rudy dive into the pit lane. Asacombe invalidated their first run. I think they are going again. Potentially, no, they're not actually. They've backed off, so they're not going again on that same set of tyres. So this is pretty much everybody's first runs over and done with. And yeah, interesting, isn't it? It's really, really close at the top of the timesheets. You've got to say from, well, Marlon up, only 0.3 of a second separating the top 9 is really, really close. Nando and Brock obviously just a little bit detached further back. But surprised maybe at the top of the timesheets in Fabi. Fabi has kind of been middle of the road most of the season, you've got to say, hasn't he? He's had a few solid races here and there, but he's not really shone that much this season. It's more Markados who's had the more flashes of pace. Of course, Markados had pole last time out and got a second place finish, had his first podium, was fighting Rudy for the win last time out in Abu Dhabi. But end of the first runs, and Fabi is the one at the top of the timesheet. It's not a name we usually see at the very top of the qualifying session.
Yes, of course. I remember commentating on him in F2 pretty much a few seasons ago, where pretty much he was the outsider going into the final round in Brazil, and he ended up winning the championship from being so low down in 1 point of the race, and he went on to overtake so many people and won that race and won the championship. So hopefully that gives Rowan and Legend a little bit of hope going into tonight's race as well. Rudy has gone on the track very, very quickly, actually. So he wants to get a lap time on the board bright and early, because he doesn't want to have a disadvantage compared to his championship rivals. We've got Jensen there as well, who's not had the best of seasons, and he even admitted himself that he would probably think he would probably go into F2 next season, season 33, which, as was announced this weekend, again, it's not that long to go until season 33. We'll go through the season 33 calendar after the race, of course, because we got the championship decider, of course. It's starting in just under a couple of weeks' time. On the 27th of February will be PSF1 around the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, and sign-ups are open now. So if you do want to sign up, and who knows, we may be commentating on your antics every week, then head on to our Discord. Link to that is in the description box in this video. And if you are new, you must set, obviously, a time trial around certain tracks and do an evaluation race as well, and then you basically got a week to do it, do the sign up, week to do the evaluation, and then Connor and Louis will do the hard job of placing everybody into their specified tiers. Of course, we'll see obviously who moves up, who moves down, and who stays where they are, and that's another battle I think we got to look at for tonight's race, haven't we? Which drivers are under pressure for trying to stay in this tier? So we had Marcados last season. Well, with Marcados' performances towards the end of this season and the beginning of this season as well, he's definitely shown that he can stay in F1 this season. But we got to keep an eye on the likes of, obviously, Jensen, the likes of Marlon as well. A few people that haven't performed quite well that could obviously move themselves down, because there's people, pretty much the F2 champion is pretty much guaranteed to be moved up. So, yeah, we got to keep an eye on that. And I think Jensen is, unfortunately, definitely one of the threats to be moved down, which is a shame because he's been in F1 for so long.
Yeah, it is a bit of a shame as Rudy crosses the line to go fastest now on his first proper run in the session. Good lap there for the McLaren. Is actually on board with Rudy for the majority of the lap, and he missed the apex of turn 1 by a country mile and was nearly 2/10 off Fabi's first sector. So there's plenty more time in that lap for Rudy on his next run. So we'll keep an eye on what the rest of the drivers are doing. I think Jensen just is about to cross the line potentially very soon in the Aston Martin, but he's invalidated again. So unfortunately that will not be a lap on the board for the Shizou driver. Louis as well has made a mistake on his first lap and has dived into the pit lane. But yeah, more back to your point about drivers moving up and down. It's been a season, hasn't it, where we've talked about pole times from F2 a lot in qualifyings this season, and the overlap between F2 and F1 this season is much smaller than it has been in the past. It's much more competitive between the two divisions, so it's kind of a toss-up, really. You could say a lot of people could be moving up or down, really dependent on what we see over the next 2 weeks. But there's a lot of people we can talk about in this championship that could go up or down. I think people potentially on the chopping block, and I think despite what they do tonight, are probably likely to move down. Jensen, like you say, he's had a really rough season. I think Brock is another one. Brock had a good race in Spa, but other than that, he's been solidly behind his teammate for the majority of the season. Elliot, unfortunately, who is not here tonight, obviously enjoying a cruise, but he's not had the pace this season either, so it's likely we're going to see him move down as well. And I would say, unfortunately for him, Luca Kart obviously joined fairly late into the season, but hasn't really shown all that much in the Ferrari. He had one good race, but it hasn't really materialised since then. As back to the championship, Rowan has now gone to the top of the timesheets by a 10th in the Aston Martin. Good lap from the Aston Martin driver, just on board with Legend. He's now 3.5 tenths up on his lap as he comes around the final corner, so he could go to the very top, but not quite. Loses a bit of time in the final sector, and it's our championship 1, 2, 3 in reverse order.
Well, that's typical, isn't it? But just show who has been the most consistent. And Connor, that Mr. Big C himself, has put in the chat that a few might go to PC. Yes, there are a few drivers that also race on the PC, Rudy being one of them. And there may be a suspicion that Rudy might do PC full time. We've seen that with Ogiano moving halfway through the season to do PC full time as well, both in PSGL and obviously in WOR as well. So I think we'll see Rudy, I think, in PC full time. We may not see him in PS, but we'll obviously have to wait and see. Obviously, Rudy had a bit of practice last Thursday, but to be honest, he did struggle a bit. But this is a tier more to his ability, so he's able to show why he deserves to be champion. And we're wishing the best of luck if he does decide to go on to the PC as well. I think a few other people that I would least expect may go to PC as well. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that. Steph might move to PC. I don't know. But that's just something to keep an eye on. So that might save a few people that are near the middle, as it were, as well. So there may be people near the bottom that could do that. A Legend has unfortunately invalidated, but he's going to go into the pits anyway, I believe. Is anyone else on a run at the moment? It's Nando. I have to say, Nando has had a very strong showing as well towards the latter half of the season. Score points in almost every single race in the latter half, apart from Australia and Monaco. And he's been very consistent, having 4 points, 6 points, 8 points. His best result, I believe, was in Belgium, and he scored 5 points in Abu Dhabi. He had very strong pace-wise as well. And this track is very, very suited to him as well. We saw in Silverstone, Silverstone, where he showed the pace as well, where he scored 6 points, and it is a track where it has similar characteristics, so we could see Nando doing well here as well as he heads towards turn 17 at the moment in that Alfa Romeo, of course. Pretty much scoring almost all Alfa Romeo's points this season. So I think his teammate has Nando to thank as he goes up to the line. Good lap from him, 11th place, and everybody from first down to 11th is so close. Around about a few tenths of a second separating the top 5. And then we got about 6 tenths of a second separating the top 12, which I have to say is insane. We've got Jensen going out here again. Louis going out again as well. Asako, unfortunately, has not set a lap, neither has Luca Kart, so they've got to get their heads together as well. We've got Rudy, I think, going out once more on a run. I guess he's gone for the softer option for tonight's race, because otherwise he wouldn't have enough tyres, actually. So we'll see if he has enough time to go again. Maybe he just wants to pile on the pressure on his championship rivals by going early, but I thought he'll be the last to go out. But maybe he just wants to set the benchmark earlier on, because sometimes that's where people fall by the wayside a little bit, seeing their rivals go faster than them.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's a smart move from Rudy as well to, if he has gone for the softer compound, we'll obviously see after this lap if he's able to come back in. I don't know if he'll quite have the time to come back in for another run if he completes this one, but we'll wait and see. But if he has gone for that softer compound of tyres, Louis now gone up to P4. By the way, we missed it as well. Marlon's gone onto the front row in the Red Bull. So yeah, a few more people who've been strong in qualifying all season long now starting to come to the front of the field. But for Rudy, I think it makes sense that he's potentially gone for the softer compounds here. It gives him the best opportunity to try and be at the front of the field in qualifying. Of course, the last thing Rudy needs is to have a bad qualifying and be in the middle of the pack where all the danger is. And this is one of those tracks where you're not likely to see a safety car. There's not really many places on this track where you can spin and hit the walls as such and take yourself out of contention. It's apart from maybe where Rudy's coming through now, the penultimate corner. Other than that, if you have a spin on the exit, there's not really many corners where you can spin and hit the wall. So if you do have a bad race or a bad qualifying, safety cars potentially aren't going to help you, so you don't really need that extra set of medium compound tyres around a track like this. So as Rudy's dived into the pit lane, the lap was slow anyway before he invalidated it, but it wasn't an improvement, so he's into the pits, and if he's got another set of softs, that is perfect for him. As Marcados crosses the line and goes 1,000th of a second faster than Marlon and onto the front row, and Marcados yet again coming on strong at the end of the season. It's a bit of a shame for Marcados because he started off the season incredibly well, had a real lull in the middle of the season where it dipped in performance, and then just like last season at the very end, he's coming on strong again.
Well, technically, he could still get top 5 because he's 1 point behind Tom, who's in closing in 6th place. And Cazizzo as well is 2 points as well. So he could technically get top 5, top 6 as well if he gets another good result. And don't forget, Tom will have 10 seconds added to his time after being a naughty boy last week. So, yeah, that could be very good because, to be honest, myself included, I think we both doubted Marcados for most of last season, and he's definitely proved us wrong. It definitely does take a while for people to get used to. Obviously, the game is a different handling model, of course, and obviously you put in a lot of practice, and it's definitely showing that if you do put in a lot of practice in a certain game, for example, then it definitely, you get the rewards, and that is what Marcados is definitely showing at the moment. Just don't give up, and you'll get a good result. So maybe he could be a challenge for the championship next season. We will see. I hope he does. It would be nice to see an underdog challenge for the title next season. As we've got everyone on runs at the moment, a lot of people are diving it into the pits. It is calm before the storm. We would like for you to tell us your thoughts in the live chat. Who do you think is going to get pole position? And more importantly, out of the 3 drivers still left in championship contention, who is going to be crowned champion by the end of this? Rudy comes into this 8 points. Well, Marcos has retired in the pit lane. Obviously, he doesn't have time to settle up. Rudy comes into this 8 points, clear of his rivals. Obviously, Legend 8 points behind. And then Rowan has an outside chance, 15 points, and he would need to win. But currently, he's doing what he needs to do at this moment in a time. But he needs everyone else to fall by the wayside a little bit. So, yeah, let us know, out of the 3 drivers, who do you think will get the championship. And if Rudy gets a podium, no matter what Rowan and Legend do, Rudy will be crowned champion. We will keep you up to date, by the way, guys, with the maths as well as how everyone's doing. I do have a spreadsheet that I used last week to tell you where everyone is and if they'll be leading the championship and stuff like that. We got Jose Bedros, who's predicted that Rudy was going to be champion. Risto saying Jarno on pole. No, Jarno is not in PSF1. Jarno is racing on Wednesdays, and their season's going to be kicking off once again on Wednesdays again. Obviously, even though season 32 has ended for us, we still got plenty of PSGL action. We got GT7 action on Tuesdays. We got PCF1 on Wednesdays with George Morgan and Jack Canan take you through the action. And then we got the E-Series on Friday. Their first round begins then, and the best esports teams, I think, in the whole game will be taking part as well, with Joshua Davis and Dan Field taking through the action. So there's still plenty of PSGL action to keep you entertained whilst we wait for season 33 to start. So, Aidan, there's a lot of people on laps. We've got, I think, Louis, who's just invalidated. We've got his teammate, I believe, the first person to, I think, going to finish off his run in qualifying. And we've got the two McLarens not that far behind. Do you think the McLarens will give each other a tow?
It's definitely potential. We'll see what Frankie does. I think more to their benefit would be to get Frankie up and in amongst the championship rivals, really, I think, in this qualifying session. First person to do a lap, by the way, will be Asacombe. I'm on board with the AlphaTauri at the moment, but the lap isn't looking that strong from Asacombe, which is a bit of a surprise. He's probably been one of the stars of qualifying all season long, but he just doesn't look like he's hooked up into this track today. He's a little bit all over the place, especially at the start of the middle sector. The car was snapping on him at the top of the crest. So we'll see where Asacombe can go, but it's very unlikely that this lap will challenge for pole unless it is an incredible final sector as he comes around the final corner. Louis will be next to cross the line behind him. Crosses the line, Asacombe, only P7 on the grid, so not the best qualifying time in the end, and it is actually Kazizel that will be next, but Kazizel unfortunately has invalidated. So first person that we need to watch will be Rudy, but Rudy is only slightly up on his lap at the moment as he heads through the final corner. Has he been able to find any time in the final sector? Crosses the line, and he goes pole. Goes to pole by 7 thousandths of a second. Great final sector, but more importantly, Legend and Rowan are both up on their times.
Yes, Legend will be coming up across the line next, our next championship rival. He needs to beat Rudy's time by less than a 10 to get pole, and he does that. A 1:32.134. Can Rowan do anything about it? The answer to that is no. We've still got more drive set lap times. Marlon unfortunately can't. He is invalidated. We've got a Haas driver coming up to the line. That's Steph. He can manage P6. A good lap time from him. We've got Louis going towards the final few corners. We've got two of the Red Bulls as well. Let's watch Marlon first. No, Marlon's invalidated. Of course he is. Let's watch Louis first, heading towards the final corner. Can he get pole? The last time he got pole was Monaco, and he's got P9 on the grid, so he's starting inside the top 10. So, Legend then, who was leading the championship last week before things went wrong for him, is on pole today by 38 thousandths of a second. And just look at the gap between first and sixth, and even the Williams of Marcos and Marlon are not that far behind as well. Top 14 separated by less than 2 tenths. It's kind of similar to what we saw in F2 as well. Apart from Tom, obviously, that hasn't set a lap. Everyone is insanely close.
Yeah, everybody's incredibly close, aren't they? Look at that, the top 10 all within 2 tenths of one another, and yeah, really strong qualifying from a lot of drivers there for Legend. That's what he needs to do, but for Rudy as well, that will absolutely suffice in qualifying.
Yes, and for Rowan, though, he wanted pole. That is the only way that it would suffice him, but unfortunately he is starting third. So pretty much your championship contenders are P1, 2 and 3 at the moment here in Cota. And before we head to the main race action, we got a quick word from our sponsor, GT Omega, for the final time this season. Hello everybody and welcome back to PSF1, the championship decider. The drivers are very keen to get going for the final round of the season. We got myself and Aidan Carter take you through the action, and we got Legend, who's currently second place in the championship on pole, but Rudy, all he needs to do is finish on the podium and he gets the championship title for PSF1. But Legend can still win this. Rowan can still mathematically win this as well if the other two falter. So, for the final time this season, we are going to have the 5 red lights here at COTA for PSF1. And we are underway for the final time this season. And let's see who's get the best start. Legend has had a very good start heading towards turn 1. Namaya's had a cracking start as well against Rudy. But Rudy had the better traction. He's going to force me go around the outside into towards turn 2 then. Has a lot of side-by-side action already. I think Legend is pulling away. It shows how quick he is as well. There's a big contact at the back. Stefano's had a spin round. Louis had a spun round as well. A few resets to track as well. That's not good. Jensen's up to 9th place, I believe. So he avoided all that carnage. Fabi, unfortunately, had a bad start. He's down into 15th position here at the United States Grand Prix. A lot of drivers, it seems, have started on the hard compounded tyres, and it does look like that they have. So that will last to pretty much most of this race because there will be no safety cars. But it's Legend in first, Namaya in P2, Rudy in first, Rowan has dropped down to 4th, which is very, very frustrating for the man who's currently sitting in 3rd in the standings. Not what he wanted, but Rudy, he may be a bit disappointed by that, but he wouldn't mind being 3rd right now.
Yeah, right now 3rd isn't too bad as another yellow flag. Oh, Markanos has had a contact with someone. I didn't quite see who he's had contact with or whether he's spun on his own. He was with Marlon, so I wonder if it's with the Red Bull that he has made some contact as Rowan and Rudy go side by side, and Rowan forces Rudy off the track. Rudy going to keep the 3rd place though. Rowan decided to back out of that one. I think, actually, no, he's going to go around the outside, so Rudy must have got an illegal overtake on the Aston Martin going off the road. So Rowan sending it down the inside on his championship rival, forcing Rudy off the road. And now, if the race were to end now, Legend would be the title winner. So, yeah, Rudy now, bad start for the championship leader. Great start for Namaya, like we saw, launched off the line brilliantly. So did Legend as well. And Rowan now with an opportunistic overtake on the championship leader puts himself in 3rd, but already the top 3 are starting to spread themselves out and breaking DRS from one another already. By the way, best start of anybody so far is Tom. He's up 8 places from the back of the grid up to P10 already, and Frankie's up 7 as well, which of course is good for McLaren in their championship fight in the manufacturers. But as it stands for manufacturers right now, Ferrari would take the manufacturers as well. So yeah, a lot to look forward to tonight. By the way, the contact further down the field was between Louis and Stefano. Fabi and Surface, I think, went off the road almost in sympathy in a different incident. So Stefano and Louis, the ones that came together, Fabi caught up and Surface caught up in the aftermath.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shame there, of course. Obviously, the yeses section can bite a lot of people, including myself, so it wasn't that surprising to see a little bit of carnage at the moment. But we've got the ERS enabled as well, so you can see how much battery everybody is using. Frankie still keeping enough battery to good use, same with Asacombe as well. I think a lot of people are not using it too much, unless you're the likes of Rowan, who really wants to gain as many places as they can in this race, because he has got the most, he's got nothing to lose in this situation. So, but he's got to be careful, because around this track, it is, you can use a lot of VRS, but you can't recharge as much and effectively. So, Rowan ideally needs to be saving a lot. Namaya, the same thing. Legend, pretty much he's on 38%, but that's a decent amount. He's using a bit, but trying to save as much as he can in the corners. And like he did last season in USA, despite the fact it was raining in USA last season, he is completely dominating up front, 1.4 seconds. He said to us in the interview, I think a few weeks ago, when he won the race before last, that USA was one of his favourite tracks, and he pulled off a very dominant performance in the wet. Of course, he was hoping it was going to be wet. Obviously, it's not wet today, but to be honest, it's not stopping him at the moment, and at the moment he is currently in the running for the title. But like we saw in PSF2 earlier, we've seen quite a few people chop and change for who's going to be favourite for that title, as Service unfortunately has retired in the pit lane. So unfortunately that is his final race of season 32 done, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully he can come back bouncing ready for next season. So not major battles happening at the moment. We do have a big DRS train from the likes of Namaya all the way down to P13, because Izzle looking like he's favourite to try and get Brock anytime soon. But bearing in mind, Tom is in the points at the moment, but because of his incident last week, according to a safety car, he has got a 10-second penalty added to his time. So at the moment, that will put him in I believe P15, just behind Stefano. So even though he's Thomas 10th right now, he'll be way out the points due to his 10-second penalty. Obviously, if he still stayed in this race, it would have been added to last week's time, but since he DNF'd from the race last week, it's been added to this week's race time, which just goes to show you have to finish a race, because otherwise you get penalties like that. And again, Legend is already chucking himself into contention at the moment, but Rudy is not giving up front. He's saving his ERS. He's seeing that Rowan has got less ERS in front of him. It is game time, I think, for Rudy. He knows that Rowan is struggling a bit out there.
Yeah, I think Nemaya and Rowan have both fallen foul of trying to push their ERS to see if they can catch Legend. They haven't done that, and now they're losing out to the drivers behind who have still got some ERS in the bank and are now faster in a straight line. So they've pushed, I think, too hard trying to keep up with the Ferrari in front. What is it about Legend in the Circuit of the Americas that something just unlocks in this Ferrari driver and he just disappears up the road, doesn't he? Wet or dry. Where has this pace been for Legend all season long? This is the kind of performances we were expecting from Legend from the very start of the season that never really materialised. So it's been an amazing race so far, and look at that, he gained just almost 0.3 of a second just in one braking zone. He's so strong under the brakes. That seems to be where he gains most of his time. So yeah, Legend doing all he needs to do at the moment. By the way, if the championship were to if the race were to finish now, Legend and Rudy would be tied on points, but Legend would win the title on countback of second place finishes. They'd have equal race wins, but Legend has 4 second places and Rudy doesn't have a single second place finish this season. So that is how Legend would win the title if it were to finish now. So that's how close it is. It's such a close season so far, isn't it? So yeah, we've got to keep an eye on that. But I think Rudy now's just got to sit and wait for the pit stop phase and then attack the drivers in front later on in the race when he's under less threat from the drivers behind. He's got to make sure that he doesn't get attacked from behind, as well as making sure that he can focus forwards as well. And already looking like Rowan and Nemaya pushing really hard to try and keep up with the drivers in front are struggling for pace. So I think Rudy here, if he can just sit back, save some ERS, save his tyres a bit and not push too hard at this point in the race, he could definitely be really, really strong by the end of this race. And Nemaya and Rowan are already looking under a bit of threat from the train behind.
I'm a bit surprised actually that Frankie wasn't on the same on the same strategy as Rudy. I thought Frankie would go on a different strategy to hold up the field a little bit to help his teammate, but obviously not. I'm guessing he wants to maybe try and prolong his hard stint a bit more. Maybe he would stay out to help his teammate a little bit as well, because double stacking is not really the best around on this game, unfortunately. Hopefully they'll probably make it better for next year's game, F1 23, which should be coming out in July. By the way, I've just got some news from the PSF2 side. Vola Kongan, I can't even say his name, I'm absolutely rubbish, but yeah, he has won the PSF2 title by 2 points and by 1/10 of a second. It was that close going into the last lap. So yes, Vola Kongan won the F2 championship in PS. We'll very likely see him in PSF1 this next season, so we're looking forward to commentating him on that, as we had a spinner, and that is Fabi in the S's, so that is a shame. He was on the soft tyres, and he had a good qualifying, but unfortunately his race has definitely gone from bad to worse. Unfortunately, at this stage, Rowan has increased the gap to the Maya by 0.4 of a second then, so that battle's going to get heated up very, very fast as well. He's also running out of ERS as well going into this. Now, bearing in mind these hard tyres could last a distance around here, could last around about, I believe, 21 laps. I haven't got the strategy in front of me as to when the predicted pit stop phase will be. I will get it out in just a moment, but yeah, it will be a hard to medium strategy, and if there's a safety car they could go on softs, or maybe the ones who've got nothing to lose maybe could go on the softs until the end of this race. But I tried the softs around here, they don't last very, very long at all, so we'll have to wait and see. So not much is happening at the moment as predicted in PSF1, but when it goes to the pit stop phases, I think it's going to get very, very busy.
Yeah, it's definitely going to get busy. We're going to have to wait and see as well who's going to be the one to pull the trigger and go early. I think this is one of those tracks, though, where going early for an early pit stop will gain you quite a bit in the undercut, because there are so many corners where you can heat your tyres up here. So you can get a good benefit of an undercut, but tyre wear and tyre performance drop-off around this track is so high that it could bite you quite badly later on in the race. So we're going to have to wait and see can kind of balance up that act the best, who can do the two of coming in early enough to be able to undercut some people, but also not fall off later on in the race. As further down for 13th, Markados is trying his fight back through the field after his early spin on lap 1. He's past Brock, and Stefano's going to try and make it 2, getting past the Mercedes driver, who's, again, like we said earlier, just having a really difficult season this season and is very likely going to be dropping down to Formula 2 next season. But Stefano's going to go the long way round here in the middle section of the lap. Stefano, though, went almost too wide, went off the road and got himself a time penalty. So not the best move there, unfortunately, from the Haas driver. But Brock is really struggling already. He's nearly dropped out of DRS range to Markados in just half a lap. So Brock seemingly really struggling on his hards. And this is one thing we haven't really seen this season, isn't it? Is a lot of drivers have burnt out their ERS already. We're seeing a lot of drivers derating here. Our top 3 are all derating. Rudy is the first driver in the field not derating at the moment, but all season long we've seen people preserving their ERS and not pushing too hard and waiting for the pit stop phase to push and burn their ERS, but nobody seems to be doing that this time around. Everybody has burnt their ERS pretty much very early. The only driver in the field at the moment who has got an ERS percentage above, the only driver I'd say in the competitive field at the moment that's got their ERS above 50% is Marlon. So look out for Marlon at the pit stop phase. He could definitely be a threat.
Yeah, he could as well, and it's a shame that Marlon hasn't performed the way that I would have thought he did, because he started off qualifying in the first race of the season very, very strong. Don't forget, he came from F3 last season as well. He did very well in that championship, and to be honest, I was expecting him to be the front challenger for wins and stuff, but he was just not showing his pace at the moment, as Rowan trying to go down the inside of Namaya, heading towards the next right-hander then, as Rowan gets the job done up into second place. It doesn't mean anything for him in terms of his championship hopes, but it does mean he could challenge for the win a little bit, and he wants a bit of glory points at the moment. So, yeah. Rowan up to second. Namaya couldn't have done anything about that at the moment, and will this give a bit of breathing space for Rudy to try and go for the move as well? We'll obviously have to wait and see. And by the way, the top 3 in the championship have something to fight for, because they get a £150 GT Omega voucher if they win the title. So a lot to fight for. They can get lots of GT Omega products, including one of the chairs that myself and Aiden are sitting on right now as well. So yeah, make sure you check them out by typing GT Omega in the chat as a command, or exclamation mark GT Omega in the chat. You can also click the link in the description. You can get 5% off by using the code PSGL at checkout. So check them out, and we're also partnered by one of our new partners, Sim Staff, who just started a career newsletter as I'm interrupting myself. Someone has just had a bit of a sperm bun, and that is unfortunately Nando, who's had enough. The man who scored consistent points this season, he's now down in 15th position, and that is a shame. But luckily I don't think he's got any damage, but he's got to slow down a little bit to try and cool down his tyres to an operating window. So the next person to watch out for, I think, is Rudy. He's using his overtake at the moment to try and get past Namaya, and Namaya is definitely running out of hers going on this back straight. So this is a great chance for Rudy. Here he comes, and is he going to go left or is he going to go right then? Heading towards, that was a bit of a defensive move from Namaya there. That was almost very aggressive actually as well, and that gave Marlon almost an opportunity to do so. I wonder if Namaya will be penalised about that. We'll have to wait and see. I really do hope the championship doesn't get decided by the steward's room. That would be cool, as Rudy tries to go down the inside into turn 15 and 16. Can he make it move stick? Yes, he can, as Rudy is now suddenly in the boxy. As it stands, he will win the championship by 1 point, unless Legend gets fastest lap, and Legend will win the title. So yes, Rudy is in championship contention. As it stands, that was a championship winning move, as I say so myself, and that he didn't let Namaya's aggressive move face him. So that was very, very great to see. A big well done to Rudy. He's trying to close in on Rowan now, because he's pretty much got it signed, sealed, delivered. Pretty much at this stage, as Nando is now out of the race. He's retired in the pit lane. That is his season 32 over.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame for Nando. Both Alfa Romeos out of the race as well, so shame to see both of them go in the pit lane, sadly. And yeah, I was kind of surprised that Rudy went for that move, if I'm totally honest. He had a bank of about 35% ERS. Namaya was still within DRS range of Rowan in front. The train wasn't broken. So why Rudy felt the need to burn all of that excess ERS to get that move done then, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if the risk is going to be worth the reward, because that fight that he put himself in has now meant he's lost DRS touch to Rowan in front, and he's got that ERS backup that he did have. He now no longer has an advantage to the drivers in front. So I don't quite know if that was the right move for Rudy at this point in the race. And now here comes Marlon Marlon on his Red Bull teammate. Nemaya moving over, only the one move this time around, but Marlon's going to try and go round the outside of his teammate. Can't quite get the move done though on the brakes. He's going to try and switch back. They do wheel bang a little bit on the exit of the corner, but Nemaya holds his line, holds his ground this time around. Much cleaner racing between the two as Rudy in front, all over the place on the traction coming out of that corner as the Red Bull drivers fight with one another. But yeah, Nemaya all of a sudden really struggling on these hard compound tyres. I think just going to prove as well how important tyre wear is around this track. The drivers are already really struggling on their tyres, especially Nemaya, who is just falling backwards at the moment, and now Marlon has a great opportunity. And the worry here now as well is if Marlon does get past his teammate quickly, he'll be straight on the back of Rudy, and Rudy has no ERS to defend with if Marlon's within DRS range. And look at that, the run out of the final corner, Nemaya can do nothing to defend that. Marlon is through. Nemaya's potentially going to try and re-dive his teammate down the inside, but not worth it. Marlon is through and into fourth, and if he can keep within DRS range of Rudy, Marlon could be the one to demote Rudy back out of championship position again.
I have to say, that was very good so far from Marlon. His race pace has been outstanding so far, and he can definitely have a say in this championship, and he could potentially get past Rudy as well. But in terms of the tyre wear, it could be down to setup as to why some people are struggling more than others, as there's a few times in a few tracks I've raced on this game where I was on high tyre wear and someone was not, and someone said it was down to setup, and turns out it was because I had more of an oversteery setup, where more of the tyres, in particular the rears as well, were struggling. So yeah, there could be people that have gone for a setup which is more aggressive on their tyres. They'll be strong at the opening part of the race, but towards the end of their stint they will struggle a bit more. And potentially Marlon has gone for a setup where he's gone a bit conservative at the start of the stint, but towards the end of the stint he's definitely going to try and go for the push. He's around about 6 tenths behind Rudy. This is going to be crucial for him as well to see if he can get the job done so far. Meanwhile, Frankie is looking like he's on the back of Tom as well to get some good points. Frankie's got some good points recently in that McLaren as well. Started off quite weak, but he did get a podium last week in Abu Dhabi, and to be honest, it was a shame that we couldn't get him in the interview room, because I have to say, from the pretty much from the F2 champion from last season, we were surprised that he wasn't up there at the start of the season, but it was great to see that he was up there at the end of the last race, which may have sealed his fate in F1 next season, which is really, really great to see. And usually it takes one result really at the end of the season to kind of seal your fate, just like we saw with Markados last season. So we'll see how he chases down Tom for 7th position. So as it stands then, before the pit stop, Legend leads 4.5 seconds. He's definitely doing what he needs to do up in front. Rowan in second, Rudy in third. As it stands, he would win the championship by 1 point. Marlon in 4th position, and your top 5 with Ascombe in 6th position. Jensen doing a great job at the moment. As it stands, he will be in 8th position with Frankie in 7th position due to Tom's time penalty, and Kazizzle and Luca Kart will take the final few points. I'm watching Jensen's ERS, by the way, and he's ran out already, and we're only on lap 11, so he's probably used a bit too much too quickly.
Yeah, it seems to be the case for a lot of drivers, doesn't it? All of our top 3 are derating down the back straight, so they're all burning their ERS up a lot around this track. And this seems to be, again, one of those tracks where the DRS train doesn't seem to be all that powerful. With the DRS train at the front of the field kind of came back together with that fight between Rudy and Nemaya, but before that they were just splitting up into groups of 3 really. Frankie had lost touch with the back of Tom before that. He's now re-caught them, and Kazizzle's managed to drop off the back of Jensen and has fallen into clutches of Luka and Markados. So the train was already splitting. That little battle though that Rudy had brought them somewhat back together again. But again, that move from Rudy for me is making less and less sense, that move on Nemaya. Yes, Nemaya is falling back, but Nemaya at the time was still comfortably within DRS range of Rowan, and I think he should have waited until Nemaya was out of DRS range of Rowan in front, so that he didn't have to put up such a fight against the Red Bull to go for that move, because that could have given him at least a chance of keeping up with Rowan in front. Now that he's out of DRS range and comfortably out of range because of that fight, he's really got no chance of catching Rowan unless Rowan plummets off the cliff in terms of his tyre wear or makes a mistake. So Rudy, by making that move to Nemaya, yes, it's put him in championship position, but it's left him vulnerable to the drivers behind with no aid in front of him. So I don't quite understand that move from Rudy for that, and he's definitely under a lot of pressure from Marlon behind, who is skating the rear of that car coming out of the hairpin. He's putting the power down so early. But yeah, 12 laps in on the hard compound tyres, and we're seeing drivers all over the road. Medium tyres are going to be fun at the end of the race, aren't they? If this is the tyre wear on these hard compound tyres, a lot of drivers really struggling throughout this field as Louis is the next person to retire in the pit lane. His season is over and done with. Of course, a race winner this season was Louis back in Monaco. Dominant performance, probably the most dominant performance of the season. But other than Monaco, Louis really had not that great of a season, unfortunately. So he's potentially one driver as well that could be looking to move out of F1 for next season. We'll wait and see. But yeah, other people to keep an eye on in this race, by the way. Markados has managed to catch that Kazizel-Luka Kart battle after that spin earlier on in the race. So if he can get through these drivers, he's definitely still a threat for a set of points in this race, especially if he pits early. So keep an eye on Markados potentially coming back through the field later on in this race, as I think we've already got someone in the pit lane. Yes, we have. Frankie's into the pits at the end of lap 12.
Wow.
Now, I was expecting one person to come in early, maybe at mid-distance, but this kind of seems ridiculous if I'm completely honest. Doing 16 laps on a set of mediums when we're already seeing them struggle 12 laps in on a set of hards. I think this is obviously from Frankie trying to get people to pit and trying to help his teammate potentially, trying to get people in to burn their tyres up. But this seems just outlandish and ridiculous from Frankie. This is far too early, surely.
Yeah, I think so as well. I thought he was going to stay out a bit longer and try and hold up everybody else to make sure his teammate has a buffer, but obviously not. I think he may try and do the opposite, but maybe towards the end. But yeah, I agree. We have seen how people like Rudy, for example, is struggling on to set up those hard compounded tyres. And I'm sure the McLaren teammates will be in direct communication in a PSM voice chat. So yeah, I'm deeply confused as well, but you never know. There are methods to people's madness, and they may have a reason for it. But if it does win Rudy the Drivers' Championship, then so be it, and fair play to Frankie. But at the moment, this is not ideal for Frankie, but I want Frankie to prove me wrong. That will be absolutely amazing for the McLaren driver down in 14th place at the moment. So, with all that, pull the trigger for Legend. Legend is definitely not fazed by that, as Legend stays out in that Ferrari. Is Rowan going to come in? Nope, he is not. Really stays out as well. But there's one Red Bull that's come in. That is Lamaya. Lamaya, I think, had to respond to Frankie. So, Lamaya is in. Tom is in. Jensen's in. Kazizel is in, Markados is in, and Stefano is in. More people are in than I thought, which is surprising. Again, quite mad, if I do say so myself, because they are going to struggle on these tyres, but you never know. They may have struggled more on the hards, but they may suit the mediums better due to their driving style. I don't know, but yeah, I'm still not sure why these people are coming early. But let's watch Frankie as he's going side by side with Lamaya heading towards turn 1. The undercut almost worked, but don't forget his tyres are warmed up as he heads towards the S's section, and he's got the job done on Lamaya. Frankie is up into pretty much the net race lead, but I'm almost certain with Legends gap it won't be the net race lead for long.
Yeah, definitely won't. I think with that pit stop there, I think Frankie will probably realistically fight Marlon when he comes out of the pit lane. But I'm really baffled by why these drivers have come in so early. I think we've already seen drivers struggling so much on the hard compound tyres. If someone maybe like Asacombe or Marlon can stay out that little bit longer, maybe until lap 16 or 17 even, if they can stay out that long on their set of hard compound tyres, they are going to have such a pace advantage at the end of the race. And we already know it is so easy to overtake around the circuit of the Americas that you can't really defend from someone on much better tyres around this track because the straights are so long and there's so many corners where you're going to lose time, it doesn't really matter. So I can understand one or two drivers coming in for an early pit stop, but pretty much half of the front-running field doesn't make any sense to me. As Rowan, championship protagonist, gets a time penalty, Rudy and Marlon are into the pit lane at the mid-race distance. So I think for Rudy, I don't know. I think this helps everybody, pretty much everybody behind Rudy pitted before him kind of helps Rudy actually, because he's not going to be under that much of a threat in terms of pure pace from drivers behind, as long as he can keep track position. But I don't really know why some drivers maybe like Tom or Jensen didn't go out a little bit longer and try and benefit later on. As here comes out of the pit lane, Frankie is going to go round the outside of Marlon at turn 1. Can he get the move done on Marlon? Yes, he can.
Wow.
And it's line of sight for the two McLaren. So actually that's worked quite well. Frankie now just has to sit behind his teammate. He needs to leave Rudy alone and kind of let Rudy warm his tyres up so that Rudy can get away. And Frankie needs to hold the rest of this pack up so that Rudy can get away and get himself some breathing space. That has actually worked very well in McLaren's favour, although I do think Frankie here has potentially sacrificed his entire race and maybe a points finish to benefit his teammate. We'll see what Rudy can do coming out of this hairpin. He's got to give himself enough of a gap to not be under threat from anybody behind, as Marlon almost running straight into the back of the McLaren at the hairpin. He was backing off so much, but smart play for McLaren there to give themselves that kind of line of stern finish there. But Marlon in a straight line is so much faster than Frankie down the back straight. Rudy is slow in a straight line as well. Marlon around the outside of Frankie. Frankie's got the inside line. He should be able to defend that one. On the sausage curb goes Marlon. He doesn't quite get the run out the corner. He can't get the move done. Frankie just about holds on to 7th place. Rudy's tyres now should be up to temperature. So now Rudy needs to try and get away.
I have to say, that was very well played from McLaren. I can see why Frankie pitted when he did to help Rudy a little bit. So, yes, but we can see Marlon is very good on the straight line. He could get them here towards the Istanbul part of the circuit. There's a bit of contact from the both of them, which could cost them in the long run. We're seeing Rowan go into the pit lane. Oh, they both made contact. They both made contact. I don't know how Namaya avoided that, but he had to go off the track to avoid that, and that has costed Frankie a chance of points. I'm almost certain of that, and that is definitely helped Rowan in his fight for a good result, even though he's got the time penalty. But he's in a net pretty much P2 of this race so far, and that's helped Tom, even though Tom's going to get a penalty. Namaya's got a 5-second time penalty, gaining 1 place, but he had to avoid an incident, so I'm almost certain that could get removed if he had to avoid, obviously, a spinning McLaren and his teammate. So, yeah, if I was him, I would get that removed, because otherwise he would have been out of this race. So, yeah, as long as he has his race director, that will be absolutely fine. Someone in the chat saying very dirty, but again, it's not up to us, it's down to the stewards. But we do hope that obviously it's not get decided by the stewards, the constructors battle at least. So at the moment, we'll almost certainly know the drivers battle, but the constructors, it could be down to it as well. But this is good news for Rudy at the end of the day, but I don't think the other championship contenders will like that, as Rowan gets past Brock, who's been on those hards for 15 laps, now up into 4th place on the road, as Legend comes in. The driver who I thought was going to stay out the least out of everybody, he's coming in. Well, he's got the least to lose in this situation, because no matter when he pits, he'll still come out effectively in the net race lead. But we'll see where Rowan is at the moment on track. He's passing the final few corners now, whereas Legend is going up the hill towards the pit straight, and he's going to be comfortably ahead, I think, of Rowan, which shows how dominant he has been in this race, as Asakoma has just come out of the pits as well. So Rowan in the net P2. Brock still yet to stop. Luca still yet to stop in this race. And as it stands, this could be very huge in terms of the championship. We will let you know the championship permutations once everyone has made their stops, because otherwise it'll be very, very confusing. And don't forget, there's still a lot of time penalties to decide, as well, as Rudy doesn't like Brock holding him up a little bit. So, yeah, Rudy's got to try and get past ASAP, because otherwise it could definitely hurt his championship in the long run, because he's got the likes of Tom behind him. Marlon as well, looking to try and get past as well, but Marlon is definitely good in the straight line, so we'll see if he can get past Tom in heading to P6. Meanwhile, Rudy has got past Brock comfortably there, up into 4th place on the road, and he's in a net 3rd at the moment, which is what he needs. Actually, he's in the net P2, I believe. Actually, he's lost some time to Rowan due to the fact that he got held up with the likes of Frankie and all that. So with that battle with his teammate, did not help him at all there.
Yeah, it really didn't help at all, did it? I think Frankie there, that incident for Frankie, between Frankie and Marlon, I think it was 2 of one, half of the dozen the other. It was a half-hearted move for Marlon, but Frankie also turned into the corner with the Red Bull still on the inside. It was unnecessary, definitely, from the 2 of them. And while that has helped Rudy then played it far too safe with Brock. He had an opportunity to go for the move at turn 1 on Brock, didn't go for it, and has ended up dropping out of penalty range to Rowan in front. He was only 1.6 seconds behind Rowan, but Rowan has doubled that gap in a lap because Rudy was playing it so safe behind Brock. So Rudy almost playing it too cautiously at that point of the race, and that has put Tom back in DRS range. All that work that Frankie did to get Rudy ahead and out of DRS range has now gone, and Tom is now, all of a sudden, remember, Tom is now in with a shot of a podium here, and Tom started last on the grid, so Tom's having a mega race. Where has this pace for Tom been all season long? Of course, the 10-second penalty he will get will mean he won't get the podium, but if he can get it on track at least, that is a really strong performance to round off this, what's been a pretty poor season by Tom's standards by the end of this one. As further back, Marlon managed to get the move done on Brock and is up into 5th place. Next will be Namaya to get past Brock, who really is a sitting duck on those old hard compound tyres. just shows you the difference in pace between these two tyres. But yeah, Namaya's through. Kazizel's going to go through as well. He's going to get the move done. Kazizel might get a run on Namaya as well in the process. We'll wait and see. And Asakome, after he pitted later than everybody else. He pitted at the same time as Legend, but he's dropped down to the back of this queue. So we've got to keep an eye out for Asakome in the latter stages of this race. Right now, he's a little bit further down the field than he would like, but he is definitely going to have some pace later on in this race, especially compared to the likes of Kazizel and Namaya, whose tyres are already 3 laps older than his.
Yeah, shame we can't really see the tyre wear this season, because I would have liked to see how much... Oh, it's Asakome trying to go for a dive on board. I know he's on all the tyres, but that was very, very brave from Asakome there, and to be honest, he knew what he was letting himself into, and it paid off for him. So Asakome up to P8 on the road, but he's going to be even more than that because of everyone else's penalties. Yellow flags. That is a Haas that's spun. That is Steph, unfortunately, has had a bit of a moment. He's down into 14th position, and Frankie has had a bit of... No, it's Brock going into the pit. So Brock will be your last person to go into the pit stops, and he's also going for a set of the medium tyres. Why has he stayed out? I don't have a clue. But again, he had nothing to lose, and he may get moved down into F2 this next season anyway. So as it stands in the championship, as I update what is going on, so because of obviously Rudy getting held up by Frankie, Rowan will still, I believe, get second place in this race, but obviously Rowan being 15 points back before tonight, Rowan will not win the title. But as it stands, Rudy would win the title by 2 points. If Legend wants to win this title, basically either Tom or Marlon have to get past him, and pretty much. But if Legend wants to win this title, he needs to get the fastest lap. Who's got the fastest lap at the moment? It's Legend. So the gap will be 1 point now because he's got fastest lap. So yeah, basically Rudy has got to get 4th or lower for Legend to win the title at this rate, because otherwise that will happen. So there we go. So Legend just showing how fast he is. He's faster by 0.2 per second over Rowan. I have to say the top two are looking a class of the field compared to everybody else. As Rowan, I have to say, despite his penalty, has not put a foot wrong either.
Yeah, definitely not put a foot wrong. No, it's been a really good race. I think for Rudy here, obviously with Tom's extra penalty, Rudy's only worry now is Marlon. They are dropping the likes of Kazizel, Namaya and Asakome fairly quickly now in that battle, in that train. So yeah, Rudy's only concern now for losing the title is Marlon as it stands in this race. Tom's not a factor with that 10-second penalty to add to the end of this race. Even if Rudy loses it on track and finishes 4th with Tom in 3rd, Tom will drop behind and Rudy will get that 3rd place anyway. So it's only Marlon that Rudy at the moment has to worry about. So, and he's obviously got Tom in the middle. So Marlon at the moment isn't close enough to Rudy to mount a challenge. So Rudy now from this point in the race just needs to play it safe, and he could have this one in the bag. But we know anything can happen. Anything has happened so far this season. So we'll wait and see what goes on for these drivers. But yeah, I am baffled as to how Legend is so fast here at the Circuit of the Americas and has such a lead on everybody. Wet or dry, 2 seasons in a row, he's absolutely dominated at the Circuit of the Americas. But why doesn't this pace translate to all of the other tracks on the calendar? It's really bizarre. For the majority of the season, he went without a win, of course. He went for the majority of the season without winning a race until very, very recently, of course.
Australia.
His first win of the season. Yeah, Australia, first race win of the season. It's just like, it's just not really been that kind of season for Legend. This kind of performance we kind of expected from the very start of the season. We thought he would be dominating races left and right and running away with the championship, but it's been anything but that. So yeah, really, really bizarre to see Legend have this dominant of a performance in a normal dry race with no safety car or no real incidents for anybody in our top 10. And it not translate to any of the other circuits. It's not like Circuit of the Americas is a unique circuit really either, is it? It's based on a lot of the tracks that we're using on this calendar. So why this pace doesn't translate for Legend, I don't know. But it's definitely something he's going to have to figure out, I think, if he stays on PS or moves over to PC for next season. He's got to figure out what he can do, what he does around Circuit of the Americas that works so well for him. He's got to try and translate it to other tracks. Because if he can, he will be an unstoppable force no matter really what tier he's in.
Or even what platform as well, I have to say. I know it's a rumour that PC is different around Circuit of the Americas, but I don't know. I don't have a clue. Obviously, I don't play on PC as much to notice much difference, unfortunately. But you never know. Legend can have some good pace around Circuit of the Americas if he moves to PC. I would like to see him move to PC at some point, to be honest. A lot of the major PS guys who are signed to major esports teams or development driver or have done well in PCF2, for example, have moved over to PC as Markados going side by side. We got 3 wide battles between Asako and Kazizel, and I think it was that AlphaTauri, Namaya. So Namaya definitely the truly in this situation as he heads towards turn 15 and 16. We got Kazizel still going side by side with Asako. Don't forget it's a 5-4, pretty much 4th in the Drivers' Championship as well. Even though it's going Asako's way at the moment, it will be nice if those two could pretty much keep fighting until the very end of this race. And it's not that long until the end of season 32. Not that long until the last stream's end for season 32 before we go on our 2-week break, and then we start again on the 27th of February in Spain for season 33. Make sure you do sign up to season 33 on our Discord server if you are interested. PS and PC sign-ups are open, and by the way, just a quick note, if you're on PC, it is completely no assist for PC. For PS, I have no clue. I think PS are still running assists for their lower tiers, so that's great to see for people that are still pretty new to the game, of course. But for PC, no assists at all. But if you are interested, do sign up, and you never know, you could be in a champion like the greats. Obviously, Matthew Older one season as well, and obviously like the Louis Welsh as well, who's won quite a lot of races around here as well, and to name a few. Duncan Offlin came close one. Obviously Wilson Hughes, who is signed to McLaren, as well as Tom, almost trying to get past Rudy there as well. He was so close to Rudy at the end of the DRS straight. He could have almost attacked them as well, but Rudy, I think, has got to take note of this. I'm sure Rudy should know about the 10-second penalty that Tom's got. If he does not, I'm sure the Talent Factory boys will tell him in the party chat. Rudy can afford to let this one slide if he wants to, but the most important driver that he's got to be aware of is Marlon. If Marlon gets past him, no matter what happens, Legend will win the title, because obviously Legend has got the fast lap at the moment and he would win on comeback. Thank you to Connor, who's put the Discord in the chat. So if you do want to sign up to season 33, type !Discord, all information is there as well, and it runs every Thursday, Sunday and Mondays for our main tiers. Obviously we've got PCF1 on Wednesday nights, but that's obviously being sorted, of course, and PSF9 is the highest assist tier. So yeah, as I had confirmation in the chat, there's still going to be assist tiers for next season.
Yeah, great to see as well, and like you say, it's great to have those assist tiers a little bit lower down as well, to allow people to develop and learn in one of the biggest leagues in the racing world at the moment, isn't it? So it's great to see. So yeah, great to see that, and really excited to see what's going to be coming for next season. But 5.5 laps to go in season number 32, and Rudy is just hanging on at the moment, isn't he? Tom has the straight line speed advantage over Rudy, but Rudy's too fast in the first part of the lap really for Tom to get close enough to try and challenge for an overtake at the moment. So we'll kind of see how this plays out. Rudy, if you go on board with Tom at any point down the back straight, Rudy's car, even though he is derating, Rudy is very slow in a straight line. So Rudy has obviously gone for a setup that is high downforce that helps him in this part of the track we're currently in now and the first part, but it does cost him a lot down the back straight if he is under any pressure. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that one on the latter stages of this race. But I think for Tom, I think we kind of know that Tom, with this 10-second penalty that will be added to his race time, I think Tom will be smart about it. I don't think Tom's going to put up too much of a fight, knowing that he's not going to get the places anyway. And for him, a 10-second penalty, if he fights anybody really hard, that fighting for P3 is only going to make things worse for him with that penalty. So I don't really know if Tom is actually going to fight this one too hard for Rudy. We shall wait and see. But either way, Rudy at the moment just holding on to the championship as it stands. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. That is Brock, who's had a spin in the long right-hander, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next person to retire in the pit lane, and potentially what could be Brock's last F1 race at the top division, because it's been, unfortunately for him, a really, really shocking season, sadly, for Brock, and it's not been one that we've expected of him in the past. He's been so strong in previous championships, it's just not translated this time around. I'm also keeping an eye on what Assecomb's doing on his set of tyres, and to be completely honest, I'm surprised Assecomb's not made more progress than he has. He's managed to get past Markados in the pit stop phase, after the pit stop phase on his fresher tyres, but since then he's just kind of got stuck behind Kazizel and Namaya and hasn't really found a way through. So I expected more of Assecombe on these fresher tyres to be able to get past. Of course, the two drivers in front of him do have time penalties. He will get those places anyway, but Assecombe's just not anywhere near close enough to challenge for the overtake here. So maybe actually pitting earlier wasn't too bad of a call, because on these medium tyres at the moment, the fresher tyres for Assecombe aren't really making any difference.
Yes, and it's not going to be that long before it's impossible for a safety car to be called, and that'll be very, very surprising, because I thought we would get loads of safety cars around here, as Fabi has retired and luckily is in the pit lane. I think all the retirements, Aiden, have been in the pit lane. No one has retired on track, which I think goes to show that a lot of people have put a lot of practice into this race, which is great to see. So there's going to be a lot of yellow flags heading in towards, obviously, turn 1. Hopefully that shouldn't affect them too much, and you're really starting to see Marlon struggling with his tyres at the moment. 8/10 per second to Tom, where he was about 5/10 per second a minute ago. So yeah, at the moment it doesn't look like he's going to get past the people that he needs to at this moment in time, which is a shame. The top two are pretty much checked out. Rudy is pretty much having a great race so far as well, so pretty much is best of the rest, and Marlon, if he keeps this up, is going to be 4th place. So I think that's probably why he's not fighting too much, because if he does fight too much, there is a risk that he could lose out on the position. He could go into a wall or something and retire from the Grand Prix. So yeah, I think he's definitely playing it safe at the moment, knowing that the gap behind is massive. He's got that penalty for Namaya as well, and also the gap is 2.3 seconds anyway. So yeah, I can definitely tell in some parts of this race he's definitely playing it safe, but he does know that there could be a championship to decide on the horizon, but I don't think he wants to interfere with the championship contenders too much. So he's definitely following the rules, because obviously if you're not helping, obviously the championship contender for your constructor, you're not allowed to help or interfere at all. So yeah, Marlon definitely doing the right thing and definitely playing it safe to help this race, and it'll definitely be one of his best results of the season. So keep up the good work, but to be honest, I'm surprised he's not fighting for 3rd, but yeah, I think at this moment he's definitely playing it safe.
Yeah, definitely playing it safe at this point, isn't he? And you can tell he's not pushing the extremities of it too much. Of course, if he finishes as it finishes now, I think Marlon will jump ahead of Markados in the championship in terms of points as well. I don't think he'll quite get Tom. I think he actually needs to finish on the podium to get past Tom in the championship, but Marlon will jump Markados as it stands. So that could definitely be a benefit for Marlon in this championship. He could gain a place and go up into P7 in the standings. So that's obviously something that he will want as well. Something a little bit better for him in the overall standings. And yeah, top three championship protagonists at the end of the season, all in the podium positions, but they are so spread out. You would think that this has not been that close of a season, but it has been incredibly close all season long. It's just for some reason today they are incredibly spread apart in terms of pace. Legend is miles off in the distance for some unexplainable reason. I'm still completely baffled as to why Legend is so far out in front. Rowan, likewise, if Legend wasn't here, Rowan again would be dominating this race and winning even with a penalty. But because Legend's here, he's looked like he's a bit of an amateur, but he's still doing a good job. As further down, Assecombe has finally managed to get past Kazizel on the road and is up into P7. Next target for Assecombe is to get P6, but beyond that, he's only going to get P5 in this race as it stands because of Tom's penalty. He's nowhere near close enough to the back of Marlon unless Marlon makes a mistake to really challenge Marlon here. And Marlon as well, likewise, is starting to just about lose touch with Rudy and Tom here. So while Tom gets a little bit closer to the back of the McLaren, the Red Bull of Marlon falls away just that little bit. So less and less pressure on Rudy as we've got 2 laps to go in the season. Safety car from here on out now is impossible. So we're not going to get any sort of safety car interference, which I think Rudy will be delighted about. He will be very delighted that there's no safety car. He's just got to survive 2 more laps and he will be champion.
Pretty much, he's got to stay where he is. If he stays where he is, or if Tom gets past him, he's pretty much champion anyway. So he can't afford Marlon to get past. If Marlon gets past, that's it. He's not champion. But if Rudy stays where he is, then he's absolutely fine. And he's definitely not pushing too much to try and close up to Rowan, which just goes to show how good of a season he's had towards the end. He's had a bit of ups and downs towards the latter half of the season, but he proved to us last week that don't write me out just yet. I want Abu Dhabi, don't count me out. And to be honest, I counted him out last week and he's doing well here. So, yeah, this could be the first week where I counted a driver to do well and he's doing well. So, yeah, I think the curse has pretty much ended for me at this moment in time. But hope, touch wood, there's still 1.5 laps to go. So, all could happen at the moment as Tom tries to go down the inside of Rudy. Now, that doesn't affect championship standings, of course, bearing in mind Tom has a 10-second penalty added to his time. So, even though on paper, Legend will be champion, Tom with that 10-second penalty will drop down a massive amount of positions. Rudy will be third, Rudy will be champion. So, bearing that in mind, as Marlon then, he's got to see what he could do. Could we have a final lap drama to decide the championship? That would be absolutely amazing, but really did not want this to happen, I have to say. But for all of a sudden, Marlon has found all this pace on the final lap.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's starting to kick into gear now that Rudy's right in front of him, but I think now Rudy will have a DRS benefit down the back straight, so I think it requires, a solid mistake from Rudy, really, for Marlon to challenge here. Rudy's just got to play it safe on this final lap. Rudy's pretty much played it safe whole race long. He's, apart from that fight with Amaya at the very start of the race, he's played it safe. He's not pushed. He's not been gunning for that outright speed. He's not been pushing when he's come to traffic either. He's just played it safe, and so far it has paid off for him. All he needs to do is really follow Tom. He doesn't need to fight Tom down this back straight. He can just follow the Mercedes home and he will win the title as it stands. So half a lap to go. What a race it's been for Legend, but for Legend, Abu Dhabi was his Achilles heel. He had too many incidents in that race. Most of those not of his fault or any of his wrongdoing. It's just the poor luck he had. A bit of a slow start to the season for Legend as well was costing the title. It would have been an amazing championship run today from Legend if it was the case, but unfortunately for him, Rudy is doing just enough to hold on to this. Rudy is closing in on Tom in a straight line. He's not going to go for the move as you would expect. He should just stay in that position now. Legend's a few corners from home, but Rudy is only a few corners away from his first title in PSF1.
Yes, indeed. So the final few moments of season 32 is about to draw to a close. So Legend, after dominating in USA last season in the wet, he's about to dominate season 32's United States Grand Prix in the dry. He wins in Kota. Rowan comes across the line after a great performance. He's going to take second on the road as well. I think he'll keep second even with his penalty. Tom will be third on the road, but due to his 10-second penalty, he'll drop down mass positions. But Rudy is your PSGL PSF1 Season 32 champion. He gets a £150 GTM Mega voucher, and he has the pride of being crowned the best driver on PlayStation in the biggest league ever. Rudy, congratulations, you're the man.
Absolutely brilliant season from Rudy. What a performance. Of course, he came into F1 last season, missed the first few rounds and still had an amazing season last season. He came into this championship as maybe one of the dark horses, but it's been such a strong season. He's had his up and downs, like you said, all season long. But when it counted at the end of the season, he was in the right place at the right time. He made the right choices. He had great races when he needed to. And even today, when he wasn't the shining star of the race, he was the shining star of the championship. He played it safe, he didn't push the envelope, and it's paid off for him. What a title from Rudy. And what a performance as well from our other two championship protagonists, and Legend and Rowan. They put up such a fight all season long, but in the end of the day, luck wasn't quite on their side at some points in this season. They just didn't have enough in the tank at the end to take the title away from Rudy.
Yeah, and I have to say, Rudy didn't have to challenge for the win today. Don't think he was bothered about the win today. Hopefully we'll get an interview with our champion in just a moment. But Legend, he did what he needed to do. It, again, like you were saying, due to that Abu Dhabi mistakes, if it wasn't for Abu Dhabi, he would have won the title today. But with Rudy's brilliant result in Abu Dhabi, that has definitely helped him as well. And this could potentially be Rudy's final race on the PlayStation before he moves to PC full time, and he probably most likely will be in F2 next season in PC. So best of luck. But obviously we'll find out his intentions in the interview in just a second to see if he is going to PC full time or whether he wants to go for another title on PlayStation remains to be seen. So pretty much we've got an all Dutch podium with Legend in first, Rowan in second, Rudy in third, Marlon in fourth, Asacombe in fifth, Markados sixth, Frankie seventh, Jensen eighth, Kazizel ninth, and I'm trying to do the math if Tom will just about get a point. I think the answer to that is yes, he will just about get the point from the Maya. So yeah, Tom will get the final point, and Namaya will just miss out, unfortunately. Then we got Luca Cartbrought, Fabi, Stefano, Louis, and then your DNFers are Nando. Well, there's quite a few DNFers, and they're like 26 laps down according to the game. So that is interesting. But we may as well, if I can find it. I had it somewhere. There we go. We have got the image that I think Rudy definitely wanted, and I'll probably keep it up for his interview as well. Your season 32 champion from the PS division, Rudy. He joins the greats like Wilson Hughes, like Louis Welsh, for example, like Matthew Older, and of course last season Danerco as well, who Danerco did very well in the PC division this season as well. So yeah, congratulations, Rudy, and apart from obviously Rudy and Legend, obviously Legend dominating the race, any notable mentions for driver of the day?
I think you've got to give a big shout out to Tom. Really, really strong performance from Tom today. P3, even with that 10-second penalty, P3 from him today, from 18th, last on the grid, kept out of trouble, managed to drive his way pretty much all the way through to a podium position, and obviously he won't get the result at the end of the day with that penalty, but nonetheless, absolutely brilliant performance from Tom today, and kind of the performances we've been expecting of Tom all season long that just haven't materialised. So good that he's ended up the season on a high. Hopefully he can carry that momentum forward into next season. But yeah, he's definitely another candidate for driver of the day today.
Yeah, somebody's saying that Legend is champion. Nope, he's not, despite the fact Legend's got fastest lap. I believe it's 2 extra points, I think, you get between 3rd and 4th place, I believe. So because the gap will be the gap will be 1 point due to Legend's fastest lap. So yes, Rudy does get the title. You guys panicked me there in the chat. Stop panicking me. The gap is 1 point with Legend's fastest lap. So there we go. But anyway, we may as well. I will get the music off because I don't want the music distracting the interview that we're gonna have with our champion. We'll also hear from our race winner as well. But we may as well hear from the season 32 champion, Rudy, also known as Tiger Hardy. Congratulations. That must have been nerve-wracking towards the end there.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still shaking, to be honest, after that. It was just probably my worst race I've driven this season. Like, it was from the start onwards. Like, the quali was already pretty poor with my PB already being 0.7. So, yeah, 4 tenths off, but still P2. So, I'm not so sure how. But then at the start, I don't know, I was just, my legs were a bit shaky because I knew it was really important for the championship. And I just got a terrible start, and then Namaya got past. We had a bit of side-by-side battling, which meant Legend got out of the DRS quite easily, which I think he would have anyway, because without our battling, I don't think Namaya would have been able to stay with Legend. And to be honest, with his pace, massive respect to him. That was just incredible. But I think I'm happy that I won, but not happy with my race pace at all. But yeah, to be honest, I don't really care about that.
I think all you care is you being crowned champion, because I think obviously going into Abu Dhabi last week, you didn't think you were gonna get the championship. It was all the odds were stacked against you, and then you pretty much had nothing to lose again this week. Do you think that helped you not have too much pressure?
To be honest, I was quite nervous all race, so there was still a lot of pressure. But I knew, actually, until like lap 25, I didn't realize that Tom still had 10 seconds. And when I got told that, I was like, okay, now I just need to be careful, don't do anything stupid. And then when he went for it, I was just not gonna fight it, because I think it was a bit of a low wing setup because of him starting at the back. But like I said, the pace was absolutely terrible, but the end result matters. So I'm extremely, extremely happy. Can't believe it.
Yes, and me and Ada were discussing it throughout the broadcast. Obviously, you've been racing on the PC side as well, on the F2 side. Is this something you're going to try and focus on full time, or are you going to do PS as well, or what's your plans for next season?
For PSGL, I'm probably switching to PC.
Thought so.
I I think the pace has been pretty okay so far on PC, but just a bit of lack of confidence with the force feedback and stuff being a bit different, and obviously switching between platforms. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to get better on PC, and I probably will race in PSGL on PC as well. But with the challengers, it will be a bit interesting because yeah, like I said, my pace on PC isn't quite there yet. So getting into challenges on PC is pretty much impossible task with all those guys. So I might do the challenges on PlayStation still. But yeah, I think yeah, I will be looking to up my pace on PC a bit more, and I think I can definitely do that. So looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, pretty much you're going to probably do the same as what Doug Knopflin and Joost did last year in Challenges. Obviously race on PC and then obviously racing Challenges on PS. So you're not the first person to do so as well. And before we interview our race winner, Aidan, do you have any questions for our champion?
Well, congratulations. Congratulations to yourself, Rudy. Absolutely brilliant season from yourself. I think the only question I've got for you, is there any point in the season for you that stands out as a major highlight? Is there something that you think was, what's one of your favourite moments from the season?
Yeah, well, the championship was an interesting one because there was a point where I was really comfortable on the championship. And I think I should have been champion before today. So if I wouldn't have won it, I'd have been really gutted with the races of Spa and stuff, because just some incidents happening there and just not really quite always on the pace in qualifying, especially while having the pace but bottling. So, but probably my favorite moment was, I think, to be honest, it was definitely Abu Dhabi, because yeah, I pretty much felt like I was out of it. And then all of a sudden I was back in it and leading by 10 or by 8 points, and that saved me today. So, well, if I wouldn't have bottled it so much, that wouldn't have been a standout point in the season. But that's definitely my highlight because of the major impact it had on the championship.
Yeah, it was a big turning point for you, and well, that's all I have to ask for you today. So, congratulations on an amazing season and the title as well, fully deserved. Absolutely brilliant job from yourself.
Yeah, cheers.
We may as well get our race winner. I think it's going to be a bittersweet, moment for him because he did what he needed to win the championship, but unfortunately, due to Tom's 10-second penalty, it's not quite enough. But we may as well get the COTA race winner in the commentary box. Legend, can you hear us?
Hi, I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, Legend, first of all, obviously, we'll talk about the championship in just a second. Massive congratulations on the race winning COTA. We thought you weren't going to win in the draft, winning the rep, but it shows you can win around COTA on this game on no matter what condition the game throws at you. So, yeah, tell us about your performance there because that was amazing.
Yeah, it started well. The start was very good. The launch was perfect, actually. And, since turn one, actually, until the end, just kept my foot down, keep pushing, and, build the gap up. And, yeah, it's exciting to see that I have such fast pace compared to the others at COTA, if you look to last season and this season. But, yeah, obviously I won with the fast lap, but just came short. But it is what it is.
Yeah, you did everything you needed to do, of course. So that's all I could say on the matter as well. But I was going to say about the battles you had, but pretty much you're on your own for the entire race. We may as well talk about your season as a whole. Were there any moments where you thought that any highlights for the season? What was your best race, do you think? Obviously, Australia was one of your highlights due to a win, but any other moments as well?
Yeah, I think all three wins were highlights, but I think this last one with the win margin, I think really stands out now.
What this race?
Yeah, it is actually this race. So, yeah, like I said, it is what it is. If I didn't had that unlucky race in Abu Dhabi, then I think I would have won the championship. But that's only a what if, and yeah, it's just full focus on challenges now. So yeah, that's my only target.
I think that's a lot of people's focus is as well. I think Rudy's focus is the challenges as well. Aidan, do you have any questions for our runner-up of season 32?
Well, congratulations, Legend, on the runner-up and another really great performance here. What is it about? I was talking about this during the race. What is it about the Circuit of the Americas that brings out the best in you? Because this track you seem to have a complete stranglehold over. What is it about the COTA that suits your driving style so well?
It's a real racetrack, you know. I think there are a lot of tracks on the calendar that are a little bit, not really a racetracks, and more qualifying tracks. And you know, I really like a proper, good racetrack where you have everything. You know, you have elevation here, you have fast corners here, you have slow corners there. You have everything at COTA, and I think in that combination, I can show my best race pace and racecraft. So. Yeah, I think that's why I love it. You know, there's certain other tracks that I love, but I think COTA is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's definitely a highlight of a track for yourself. And then going forwards, obviously, you've mentioned that Challenges is going to be a full focus for yourself. What's the focus beyond season 32 for PSGL? Is there an intention to race next season, and on what platform do you intend to race on?
I bought myself recently a PC, so I know I will sign up for PC. So I will step away from PlayStation.
Yeah,
to give the others a little bit of chance next season.
so both the top two in the championship will be moving to PC next season. There we go. So we'll have a new champion next season, most likely. What are your expectations for the PC side? Because obviously you haven't raced on the PC. What tier do you expect to be running in, and where do you think you'll finish next season?
Well, that's hard to say. PC is an whole different league. Obviously, I want to be in the highest league or tier, and then finish as high as possible. But you know, I think realistically, yeah, maybe if I do a good sign up F2, and you know, hopefully we will finish higher there. But that's an all different league. So I first have to see what the pace is on PC. Looking quite good, but you know, it's an all different league.
Awesome. Any more questions, Aidan?
None for me, no. Just a congratulations on a really great season from yourself, Legend. Shame that you missed out on the title, but still an amazing season from yourself nonetheless.
Thank you. Thank you for commentating this whole season.
Thank you very much for racing all season. It's been great to watch you. And that is the end. Our final stream of season 32 has gone so fast. I think everyone's enjoyed it, including myself. And yeah, what a way to round off the season.
Yeah, what a way to round off the season. Yeah, it was maybe a little bit of a tame race by season 32 standards. We've had some pretty crazy races this season, haven't we? So a nice tame way to end off the season. But nonetheless, it's been such an interesting championship fight. It's been a championship fight we haven't seen for a while in the top division as well. It's really, really great to see something so close this season, which is great. And I mean, I said at the end of last season that coming into the season, Legend looked like the clear favourite, and that ended up not being the case. In the end, there was many people that had great races this season, and Rudy did a brilliant job to take the title. But definitely going into next season for PSGL 33, I think it's completely up in the air, isn't it? There's not one driver that properly stands out. I think you've got to say, if Rowan stays on the PS side of things, then he's probably the standout, but it's probably more than likely that Rowan will move over to the PC side of things, you would say. So I don't know. I just don't know what PS 33 is going to look like. It's going to be incredibly close. And we could have with the overlap we've had with F1 and F2 this season, we could have a completely different field with so many different drivers in it. So I feel like PSGL season 33 is going to be almost a complete reset for the top division, which is going to be really exciting.
Yes, exactly. And we've seen pretty much every season quite a lot of drivers move to the PC side on the PlayStation because they definitely want a challenge, I think. Obviously, esports is on PC. It's not on the PlayStation. So the sooner you move to PC, the better. So I wish, obviously, Rudy and Legend the best of luck on the PC side. And also best of luck to all of our PSF1 drivers going for challenges. I've been looking on the time trial event thingies, and I'm seeing a lot of the drivers for PSF1 on there. So I think I saw Nando on there as well. So best of luck for that. But yeah, before we wrap up things, let's have a look at the season 33 calendar, because season 33 is starting in just under 2 weeks. We'll be heading to Spain in just under 2 weeks' time on the 27th of February. That's what kick-started season 32. But we have to line it up with PCF1, so that's why we're starting up in Spain again. Then we're heading to Singapore on the 6th of March. Then we've got France, Austria, Azerbaijan. I think we haven't been to Azerbaijan in a while, so we had to have a street track around here. It's not Monaco this time. I wonder what track people would prefer, Baku or Monaco. For me, I prefer Monaco on this game, but that's my opinion. Then we head to China for the first time in PSGL for a very long time on the 10th of April. Then we've got Mexico on the 17th of April. Bahrain on the 24th, Hungary on the 1st of May, Brazil on the 8th of May, and my favourite track of the whole way round, Portimao, it's going to be the season 33 finale on the 15th of May. I don't think I've ever seen a season where it's hosted a season finale before, so looking forward to that. So any track that stands out is going to be a good race for season 33 for any of our divisions.
Oh, there's quite a lot to choose from, isn't there? This seems to be kind of very different to the calendar we had this season. This season was full of, you would say, like driver-centric tracks, wouldn't you? Places like Monaco, we've had so many different circuits that have been difficult. Australia, Canada, Zandvoort, they're all kind of tracks that are very driver-focused, and you can see a big field spread, whereas this calendar is more of the circuits that you see on a common basis in a lot of different leagues. So these are tracks that drivers drive on a lot, you would say. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. I think definitely for me, a standout race next season, I'm definitely going to be looking forward to what these drivers can do at Baku. I think for me personally, I enjoy driving Monaco more as well. Monaco is one of my favourite tracks to drive. But to watch, Baku's always crazy in league racing, really, no matter what division. So Baku will definitely be interesting. And I think China will as well. We haven't seen really any kind of China races in a lot of leagues across the board, have we? Because it's been such a late addition to the game. It's not really been in calendars by the time this game has come out. So yeah, China's definitely going to be interesting, and Portugal for a final as well. Portugal for a finale is definitely interesting. That will be an interesting final race of the season as well. So yeah, a lot to look forward to. But for me, the standout definitely could be Baku next season. That would be very interesting.
Well, to be honest, I think for the first time, I have to agree with you. I think Baku is going to be the standout track as well. I absolutely hate driving Baku anyway. One of my worst tracks on this game by miles. But I love commentating it because it always brings out so much action. It's non-stop, to be honest. But there could be quite a few incidents as well. But we've seen in the top tiers, especially, that it's been mostly quite clean. I commented on an F2 race, I think, a few seasons ago where it was quite clean as well. So you never know. It does depend. But if you are interested, like I was saying, of signing up for season 33, sign up is open, so do !Discord if you want to sign up to season 33. It's open for PS drivers at any skill level with any assist, but for PC drivers it's open to people who can drive no assist. So sign-ups close on, I believe it's on Valentine's Day, sign-up close. What a date to close sign-ups, but yeah, sign-ups close then, so you have about a week to get your sign-ups together. If you are new to PSGL, you must complete an evaluation race as well and the time trial, but if you have done at least 2 or more races at season 32, you just sign up and there you go, you're done, and then you have to wait about a week or two to get placed once again, and we will find out the tiers for season 33. We'll obviously find out where we're going very, very soon as well, so that should be very, very exciting, but obviously it'll be kind of obvious where we're going. But to be honest, Aidan, any final thoughts before we wrap up the stream, because we're about to end for the very final time of season 32?
Yeah, only thing to say for me is just congratulations again to Rudy and to Legend and Rowan as well for putting up such a fight in the title as well. Really great fight to watch all season long, championship wise, and thanks to all the drivers as well that competed this season. Even if they did have difficult seasons for themselves, it's always important to keep a league running by just attending every week and having drivers to race for us every week. So hats off to people, even if they did struggle this season, for racing when they did and racing every week. So hats off to all the drivers, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in season 33 in just 2 weeks time. That's going to roll around very, very quickly, isn't it?
Yes, thanks to all the drivers. Thank you to obviously all the stewards for keeping the drivers on the straight and narrow. Thank you to all the admins as well across the leagues, the league admins, of course, for our tiers, obviously Jensen and Fabi as well, for inviting us to the lobby each week. Thank you very much. Obviously, thank you to the big man himself, Big C, as well, for keeping me on the straight and narrow, and on Louis for helping with the shoes. Well, Kryptonite, that's what I was trying to say. Thanks to all the commentators for all leagues. It doesn't matter what tier you commentated on. This stand has been absolutely amazing. Obviously, thank you to my commentary partner for this season once again, and it's been a pleasure to share the box with you every Monday night, and may it continue to next season, who knows. But thanks for joining me once again this season, Aidan.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me, of course, as well. It's always a pleasure to commentate alongside you, Jess. That's what, 3 seasons in a row now we've commentated alongside each other. It's been a really, really great fruitful partnership, and long may it continue, hopefully.
Yes, so we're going to wrap this stream up there. Make sure you check out our sponsors, GT Omega and SimStar. But for myself and Ada, for the final time this season, have a good evening, and we will see you in just under 2 weeks for season 33. Have a good one, and goodbye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.